Oh, buddy. It's okay. We're not cringe. We are free, right? Let's do this. All right. Chapter 1. Oppenheimer Lane. The lights blasted to life and shined down on a roughly drawn circle on the side street. A gaggle of performers stood on opposite sides of the ring. The center stage was a ragged placemat of cardboard. The two groups faced off against one another. The tension was thick on the street corner of Oppenheimer Lane. In days past, this stretch of innocuous highway was the resident home of a mythical street performer, one Jacob P. Oppenheimer. So prolific were his whimsy crafts that the city honored his passing with the naming of this stretch of street between 9th and 10th Avenue as Oppenheimer Lane. And when it came time for dueling troops to lay down any discretion, they took it to Oppenheimer Lane. A clutch of rugged-looking folks, dressed in leathers and holstering a set of drums strung low on their hips, stared across the ring and smirked. The Kentucky Cluckers were not the types to go easy on newcomers, and were seen as the newbie crushers of Oppenheimer Lane. Years of experience, but a general lack of motivation, kept them from ascending to anything greater. Enjoying the pithy glory of being the top of the garbage heap? The Kentucky Cluckers... Oh, that's Hoppity. Enjoying the pithy glory of being the top of the garbage heap, the Kentucky Cluckers are happy to suck the gutter sludge of a bygone glory day and float in the mire of hopelessness, cause they are such losers. And another thing, Hoppity announced before his older brother, Hippity, slapped him on the back. Knock it off, Hippity said. We need to stay focused here. Hoppity sighed and rolled one of his shoulders. Fine. But I just want to psych out the competition a little, you know? Hoppity shook his head. Just do a good job, like we practiced, and that ought to prove our worth well enough. Meanwhile, Captain Greaser adjusts the strap of his drum carousel. Look at these clowns. I mean, literal clowns. Who even does that anymore? Don't they know that clowning is dead? Yeah, boss, said Nameless Joe, who, by most stretches of the imagination, was a perfectly fine musician, but still somehow managed to dodge any sense of musical inspiration, and more or less just fell in line behind a strong beat. These clowns are asking for a beatdown! The sounds of the city began to pick up, and the regular crowd of folks began to file out of their offices or off buses, as they do, and began to pass the small street performance stage. It was time to get started. All right, Bogus and Bingus, Captain Greaser said. Let's get this over with. He clapped his sticks together, calling his crew to attention. Tack, 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 tack. Fine by me, Hippity said. He stepped back and nodded for Hoppity to get into the ring. Hoppity was used to being the warm-up, getting folks hyped and charging up their whimsy. It had been several days of intense training to get the performance ready, but he was not going to disappoint. Hoppity began with his usual antics. He pulled out 3 rubber chickens from his rainbow suit pants and began to juggle them. The combination of accurate throws and the goofy, choked clucking of the rubber chickens would make anyone turn their head. It began to draw a crowd, and its wild dancing and slapstick got the people coming by and spying for an upturned hat. Their whistles and cheers lifted spirits. Everyone around the ring could feel it. The whimsy of their attainment was fluttering in the air. Not bad, clown, said Captain Greaser, but step off and let us show you what a real busker can do. He motioned for Nameless Joe. Hoppity hopped out of the ring, high-fiving Hippity. It was highly technical, super advanced, very difficult maneuver, masked as a casual and even clumsy movement. Hoppity's charged whimsies slid to his brother. Nameless Joe hammered out a series of jams. The beat caught the energy of the crowd, and the resonating sound of the drums drew more people in. The apex of his act brought it to a climax. It was time. Captain Greaser stepped in, followed by his crew as they smacked out a razzle-dazzle tune with lots of stick tricks and syncopation. You couldn't help but bop your head to the rhythm. They climaxed with a high toss of sticks that got the whole crowd cheering. The stick continued to spiral in the air and began to sparkle and flicker like fireworks. The dazzling display, which the crew called the Ovation Rocket, made people whistle and cheer. The drumming crew stepped away from the ring, smug looks on their faces as the crowd cheered. Yeah, beat that, punks, Captain Greaser said, or would have said. But Hippity was not wasting any time in getting his perky-ass cheeks into the ring. Did I really write that? I really did. And by get into the ring, more accurately, he vaulted high into the air, sailing in through the remnants of the fireworks in the sky and landing with the embers scattering around him. The audience was shocked to silence, save for the heralding ooh sounds, Hoppity included. Hippity began his act, a true dazzler of movement. He danced and spun and leapt into the sky, vaulting through the use of whimsy gifted to him by Hoppity. The ground was like a trampoline as he bounced ever higher, twirling in the air with the greatest of ease. Meanwhile, Hoppity was ambling around the audience, handing out some balloons to little kids in the crowd and giving them high fives, the little flickers of whimsy transmitting to his brother as he charged for his finale. Finally, at the apex of his highest jump, he began to glow and suddenly became a brilliant star of light and became unrestrained by gravity, circling in the sky like a flaming, brilliant bird. The crowd went wild, hollering and squealing in joy and applause. He finally touched down and returned to his uninflamed state. The crowd applauded with all their heart. Excess whimsy sparkled in the air like light sparkling in the rain. Captain Greaser scowled. Nameless Joe began to applaud. Captain Greaser turned his scowl on Nameless Joe. "What? That was incredible," Nameless Joe said, holding his hand and thereby his sticks up in the air. The crew all solemnly had to agree. Captain Greaser snarled inside. "All right, fine." He stomped over to the amazing clown bothers and pulled a small patch out of his pocket. It had the insignia of his crew. "Here, take it, clowns," he said and held it out to Hippity. Hippity looked at the patch and smirked. "Keep it. You can use it to remember that you need to keep off our turf, has-been." Captain Greaser clenched his fist. "You upstart punk!" He drew back a fist. Hoppity was faster. Soaking in the glamour of the remnant whimsy, he came charging in from behind Hippity with a series of juggling balls. They flew into the air as he raced forward, but the awkward shoes he wore tripped him up, and he went tumbling to the ground. The juggling balls sailed right into Captain Greaser's face and knocked him back on his ass. The whole scene left the two men flopped on the ground, and the crowd laughed. Captain Greaser gripped his teeth on the ground and looked up at Hippity. Hippity was encircled in a halo of glimmering whimsy, almost levitating from the power surrounding him. "Thank you for the throwdown, Greaser. Break a leg down the road," Hippity said. His voice was humming with power. Slowly he reached up to his face and took hold of a bright red orb positioned at the center of his face and gave a gentle squeak. Twice. It gave a gentle and almost threatening honk honk. The Kentucky Cluckers gathered their gear and headed down the road of shame. The light of the street continued to illuminate the ring that now became the property of the amazing clown bothers. "We did it!" Hoppity said, dancing in the center of the lights. The crowd had dispersed, and only a few passerbys even paid a glance. You gotta set the right kind of stage, or the whimsy just won't flow. "Yeah, I guess we did," Hippity said. He was stroking his chin and looking into the stage space, which upon closer inspection was a little bit more than an empty lot that had been cleared out to allow a few busker performances now and then. Not exactly a prime location, but a decent spot to prove yourself. Stage 1. "Come on, Hippity," said Hoppity, hopping onto a nearby garbage can. He plopped down on the lid, which gave and sent him folding up into the can. "You all right?" Hippity said, managing to barely work up the interest to pay attention to his brother's antics. A pair of enthusiastic, albeit long-spaced honks came from the can. "Good. Now we need to get to work on our next act," Hippity said, walking to the edge of the ring, rolling out his shoulders and stretching his neck. "Already?" Hoppity said, fumbling out of the garbage can. His hat had a banana peel on it. There might not have been a banana peel in the garbage can prior to Hoppity's entrance, but the younger brother had a little control over the whimsy when the gag was possible. "Yes, already," Hippity said, turning with a stern face to his brother. "We just trounced the long-standing vanguard of this performance stage." He clenched his fist. "It won't be long before the others come for us." Hoppity jogged over to his brother. "Yeah, sure, but first," he pulled a bottle from behind himself. It was labeled in big lead letters, "Wine, $2," and he offered it to his brother, like a waiter at a pretentious Italian restaurant. "How about we celebrate?" Hippity looked at the $2 chuck, then up at his brother. There was not a serious brain cell rattling around in his rainbow-themed head. But something about that infectious smile seemed to seep into the area. making the world seem, just for a moment, relaxed. Fine, Hippity said. He took the bottle and headed back to their gear bag. And starting tomorrow, we're going to get back into your whimsy control training. Oh shit, is it leaking? Hoppity said. You have a banana peel on your hat again. Hoppity said, taking out a saber. Ah, by the ringleader, Hoppity said, taking out the cap and grabbing the banana peel and stuffing it into his pocket, just in case. Okay, tomorrow, we'll work on that. Hippity smiled and poised the bottle of wine in his hand. With a swift movement, he slid the saber over the lip of the bottle. The top of the bottle separated from the rest with a satisfying... and it spun in the air, landing in Hippity's pant pocket. Damn, Hoppity said. I never get enough of how you do that. Will you show me? Hippity took a drink straight from the bottle before handing it over to Hoppity. Let's start with you not tripping over your own feet and actually doing your juggle techniques. Hoppity shrugged and took the bottle, draining a drink for himself. The two passed the bottle, spending the rest of the evening chatting about new routines and acts to dazzle. End chapter 1. Whew.